If his mother doesn't get it, he's crazy.
Today, we're diving into some of Howard Lutnick's comments regarding the Social Security debate and whether or not there is fraud. But on the CNN segment that will be coming up, George Wallace is mad about potential Social Security cuts. But let's be honest, the real outrage may be coming from the fraudsters who've been scamming the system for years. However, this is all very general. Let's get right into the video and talk about it.
I mean, so many Americans rely on Social Security just to get by. What's the consequence of even suggesting that the way to get them to stop fraud, the way to stop fraudsters is to just stop all the checks and see who complains about it?
This whole thing is stupid. Somebody's been getting a check for 300 years. But who's a stupid person that stop sending them the check?
And so this is why Donald Trump is a very unique politician. Now, I heard Lutnick. Now, in Lutnick's case, Lutnick is able to send his mother money to make up for her not missing a Social Security check. Many other people, and I would argue most other people are not. You may not like Donald Trump, but Donald Trump flew around on a plane with his name on the side of the plane, but that is not something that you would ever hear Donald Trump say. Donald Trump was the billionaire that people, even in his billionaire status, he could relate to people. He empathized with people on their level. And so he has people around him like Lutnick. And what you said with the Social Security office, that's not something that even Republicans.
I got to be honest, I don't know what that's got to do with my mother, my father, my grandmother, Social Security money, and this man talking about they won't miss the check.
Well, I'm telling you about Donald. I'm telling you about. Well, you interrupted me, so I'm telling you about Donald Trump and what makes him unique as opposed to some of these people around him. It's not something that Lutnick should have even said.
He hired Lutnick.
He did.
Clearly,
But
he clearly thought that Lutnick was good.
My broader point I was going to make was this. I think it's easy for us to fall into the trap to think that this is him putting his foot in his mouth, making a mistake. I actually think it's part of a pretty consistent campaign by Trump, by Elon Musk, by Lutnick to start to condition the public to think that Social Security isn't essential. Donald Trump in his address to Congress talking about the 350-year-old man. Howard Lutnick with these comments today. Elon Musk calling it a Ponzi scheme. They are trying to attack this thing that we know is the third rail in politics.
It's a simple concept. There are many people who are taking advantage of Social Security and have been getting away with it for years. It is unfair to those who actually need Social Security, people with injuries that bar them from everyday activities and working environments. People who have been on disability for 50 years prove there is some truth to this issue because not all of them actually need it. And how often are they being checked on, etc.? The ones most likely to be pissed off are probably the fraudsters in the room in terms of being called out when they don't get their Social Security check for the month. But in the end, people are getting free money and pretty much stealing it. While Social Security helps many people, and it does, in some ways it kind of operates like a Ponzi scheme that a lot of people can just try to scam, like a lot of government agencies and government products, you could say. Also, saying this is some kind of condition or effort to condition the public is crazy in order to, say that we can cut all these different government programs. Like one of the analysts was saying, we're not living in 1984 where the government is watching us and conditioning our brains to accept something like the end of Social Security. No one wants it to go away. No one is conditioning anybody. I mean, it's just absurd and it makes no sense.
It seems like the White House, based on how they responded to the acting administrator at the Social Security office, they were like, stop talking about this. They understand that this is not a good line of conversation.
President Trump is the White House and dictates all policy at the White House at the end of the day. And, the spirit of what he is saying is correct. He's basically saying that people know they are going to get their government checks. They can rely on that. That's the spirit of what he is saying.
That's really not the spirit of what he was saying. What he was saying was that the only way to know when people are fraudsters is when they complain.
And both Democrats and Republicans can agree that there's waste, fraud, and abuse within our Social Security
But this isn't something that Donald Trump in the first administration and even in the Republican Party. Think of how Republicans just over the years have always fought back on the notion that they want to cut Social Security, they want to cut Medicare. Donald Trump has not saying, I don't believe there's any type of effort among Donald Trump. Now, there may be people like Elon Musk and other people around Donald Trump who have these sentiments. amendments, but Donald Trump has the standard Republican conservative position
He just
when it
happens
comes
to
to
hire a
social
bunch of people that
security. Maybe
Well,
so,
more
but
important
his
is-
position as the
Learn
president
that
of the
Sure.
United States.
Lutnick is one of 11 billionaires. So your whole, like, he relates to the people. Give me a break. One of 11
I'm talking
billionaires.
about Donald Trump.
No, I know. That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
I'm talking
He
about
hired
Donald Trump.
I know.
Well, you can't
Donald
speak
Trump
for the
hired
11 other
billionaires.
people.
He's also
So,
Salman.
what does that mean? We're talking
He-
about Donald Trump.
He hired 11 billionaires. 90% of Americans over 65 rely on Social Security.
Mr. May.
Now, just ask George W. Bush how it worked out when he tried to privatize Social
But they're not
Security.
doing it, though.
However,
They're not
but
doing
this
it.
is also part of the way he does it. They're not going to do it in the legislation.
But when
they're
have
gonna-
Republicans talked about
Those
this?
Can I interrupt
When have
somebody?
Republicans talked
Elon
about it? It's
Musk-
not a
Interrupt
thing
somebody.
that
Hang on
Republicans
just a
are
second,
doing.
everybody.
It's
Just
just not
Last
true.
comment.
Malik, I
Musk
want to let
already
Karen
has-
finish so that
yeah.
we can allow George in because he is chomping at the bit.
The Dems are too worried about what one person says and how it appears to the public instead of focusing on the real problems. Yes, he may not have said it correctly, but let's see if there's actual fraud in our system. That's the real problem here. All the analysts are just yelling and screaming and crying bloody murder just because someone points out that the only ones getting mad about losing their checks might be the fraudsters. It makes no sense to me. None of them want to address any real problems. They just want to talk about how it's said. I mean, they're caught up in debating the formality of what people are saying. I'm not surprised the country did nothing for 4 years with Biden in office with this type of stuff going on. The whole thing seems like a ploy for the left to scare potentially older Republicans or Republicans in general into potentially voting Democrat. For instance, they're taking away your Social Security. Be scared. Fight back. 90% of people over 65 really rely on this. Yes, it's a fear tactic. It's nonsense. Lastly, there was a notion about wealthy people being disconnected from society, and this narrative may be true in some cases, but many wealthy people don't follow that rhetoric and have come from very difficult backgrounds and can relate to other people who are not as wealthy. It's not fair to just bunch up every millionaire or billionaire into that narrative.
Yeah, I think, but the other thing to remember, the reason we were having this conversation, the reason he was on that podcast is because Doge, Musk's program,
Yes.
is about to hit the Social Security Administration. They've already talked about making 12% cuts in an administration that already is underfunded and understaffed. It already takes people longer than it should to get their Social Security checks. And people,
Thank you.
it's not just, by the way, that someone like, you're welcome, that George or somebody's mother-in-law or mother. It's the people like us, people like me who worry about my mother
Yes.
and my uncle or family members who rely on Social Security. What they're not understanding is that the burden isn't just on the individuals who are relying on Social Security. It's those of us who are in this generation where we're also caring for our
All right,
older
George.
relatives.
You think I can talk now? Everybody's been talking about me. I want to interrupt somebody. I'm on the Comedy News Network. This is the Comedy News Network. This is my last time because what I'm getting ready to say, you're probably going to throw me off. See, that's the problem with the world. The problem with America. We got too many rich, old, white men in Congress. All of those people you were talking about are what? Millionaires. You know his mother, billionaires. His mama ain't going to miss money. She don't need to miss money. She got money.
Many
The
people
fact
fought
that-
and died
the
in this
fact that-
country for us to live the American dream, and so we can have millionaires and billionaires in this country for all of us.
Well, millionaires
Sitting
have
at this
served.
But it
table.
didn't happen.
Very wealthy people have served in Republican and Democrat
Yes.
administrations.
Of course.
It doesn't mean because they're wealthy that somehow they don't have a connection or they're not concerned about
Yes, it
certain
does.
things.
Yes, it does.
But when it
Yes,
comes to
it does.
Donald Trump
Hang on
and
a
what the
second.
Republican
Yes, it does.
Party has advocated for,
Yes,
the
it does.
Republican Party has said over and over again, no cuts to Social Security, no cuts to
they're
Medicare.
gonna do
Well,
What
hang on,
Lutnick said
let me,
is-
okay, so let me just interject here because a couple things. One, one of the reasons this is on the table is because Elon Musk continues to put it on the table.
Yes.
Yep,
He
he
is
did.
using huge numbers to describe waste, fraud, and abuse at Social Security that's not backed up by any data. And this is how it's being received at some of the town halls. This is Chuck Grassley's district in Iowa.
We're now seeing that we don't want people to call on the phone to change their direct deposit. Go to a local office. Try to get an appointment at a local office. Right now, you're waiting a month, and we're going to cut more staff. This is not right. And we do not want to see Social Security privatized.
The cuts to the Social Security offices, that's already happening. We were just talking to Congressman Lawler about an office that was closed
Yes.
in New York and is listed on the Doge website as a saving. So when you see that, how do you think that's going to play politically?
I just think this is true all the way around. Don't mess with the older people that need this money coming in every month. That's the bottom line. Leave these people alone.
Look, the wealthy people who are disconnected from society narrative has some truth to it. There are rich people who have no idea how regular people live. Tons of them live in Hollywood. But lumping in every millionaire or billionaire into that is just lazy, as I was saying. What's really happening is that politicians and analysts seem to be just disconnected. The career bureaucrats in DC can care more about preserving their own power than actually fixing broken systems because no one's keeping them in check. And hopefully that's what Trump can do in the next 4 years, even though it's only been like maybe 60 or 70 days and he's getting tons of ridicule already. And Social Security and commenting on it and this whole debate is just another ploy and pawn in their scheme. But that's it for today on the Right Take Report. If you like the breakdown, hit the like button and subscribe for daily takes. I'll catch you in the next one.